There we go. Spoke too soon. Good evening. Today is Monday, December 11th, 2023, and the time is 7 p.m. This meeting of the Prosper ISD Board of Trustees is hereby called to order according to Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. Representing the quorum this evening, we have Mr. Bridges, Mr. Dial, looking very festive, Mrs. Dixon, Mr. Cavender, Mr. Linker, and Mr. Van Wolf, and I am Bill Beavers. If you will all join me in prayer. Dear Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you for everything you've given us. We just thank you for this time of year where we get to celebrate Christmas and the birth of Christ. And thank you for allowing us to be in Prosper ISD and for the many blessings that you have given us in the district this year. Father, as we close out the year, I pray that you would be with our families of the community, teachers, students, as we enter into the break time, as people travel, that you would just give them traveling mercies and bring them back here safely, that you would give everybody a good downtime and just enjoy family during that time. Lord, for this evening, for the board, we pray for wisdom and discernment, as always, as we weigh out the different matters that are before the district. Thank you so much for loving us, and just thank you for this evening. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. If you would please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, and let's see here. Mr. Cavender, would you please read the board vision for us?
The board's vision is to ensure a safe and supportive educational environment that promotes academic excellence and opportunities, honors traditions, fosters student learning, facilitates effective recruitment and retention of talented educators, and grows all people at all levels.
Perfect. Thank you, sir. As always, this meeting is being conducted in accordance with Texas Open Meetings Act, which can be found in Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code. All of our voting must be in public, but we can privately discuss certain items, including but not limited to matters regarding individual employees, individual students, land acquisitions and real estate, school safety and security, and matters requiring legal advice. However, after that private discussion, any final vote must be in complete view of the public. In accordance with the Open Meetings Act, the agenda for tonight's meeting was posted for the public to view at least 72 hours before the meeting. Please, everybody, take note of them and enjoy the winter break that we have coming up. Let's see here. Dr. Ferguson, we have some celebrations this evening.
Yes, we do. So I'd like to invite our Midwest Clinic International Band and Orchestra students and directors to the front. So very, very high honor. Was it last spring that I came over? So we did a big celebration for the Russian band, which was a really big moment. So I want to share it with everyone here. The Rushing Middle School Symphonic Winds was selected to perform at the 77th Annual Midwest Clinic, the world's largest instrumental music education convention. The application to perform at Midwest is a lengthy process that includes sending rehearsal videos and recordings, as well as an extensive background into the careers of its directors. 80 countries, not just the U.S., apply for the prestigious honor to perform at the Midwest Clinic. And it's right here in Prosper, Texas, Rushing Middle School. So it is a huge, huge honor that they are right here before you and will be able to go and really represent our great school district internationally, not just in the state or in the nation, but internationally. The Rushing Middle School Band has 65 members, and we have 6 students with us tonight. No, I've got more than 6. Okay, I've got more than 6. Good. And then, of course, our band directors. So I'm gonna have each of you introduce yourselves. We'll start with you, Mr. Holt.
Brandon Holt. I'm Peyton Gish.
Caitlin Norwood.
Jared Dodd.
Raymond Palmer Robinson.
Garrett Jones.
So I'm very excited because I actually will also be able to go and see the students over the winter break. So I cannot wait to see this performance. I will say that Mr. Dodd was instrumental in making sure and ensuring that I was going to be present. I happened to run into him on a Saturday at Frontier Park, and he was like, "Oh, Dr. Ferguson, are you going to go to Chicago to see the students?" And I was like, "Well, I don't know if I am." And then by Monday morning, I had a note with a Russian scarf that said, "You'll need this when you're." So I was like, I think I'm going. So I can't wait. So it's going to be an exciting time. And again, such a high honor for this band to be able to be on display. But it comes with a lot of hard effort, a lot of hard work that you all have put in. And I know parents, thank you, because I know it's a lot of, you need to practice. You need to practice some more. You need to practice some more. And really reinforcing that at home. So we certainly appreciate everything that you've done to get these students to that point in time. So congratulations to you all. Make sure you have your rushing scarf with you. I know I'm packing mine, and we will make our way to Chicago on December 20th, I believe. Or y'all leaving earlier? The 19th, and then they will actually perform on the 21st at 9:45 in the morning. So can't wait.
It's awesome.
Hopefully we don't get snowed in.
Yeah.
Right?
Weather's looking good.
Weather is looking good. Yes.
They do well. There we go.
Getting behind the head.
You know, we need to get Mr. Ostrom and Dr. Rowan in the picture too.
I'm coming.
Because they're principals.
Not able to make the trip to Chicago. We are performing Wednesday at VHS and Sunday at McKinney High School as our send-off concert. Those are free to attend.
And you don't have to wear a scarf.
You don't.
Right. Congratulations. And then we have day students, so I don't know if anyone had the opportunity this past weekend to go to Rock Hill High School, that we had artwork on display from all of our students, kindergarten through 12th grade. It was so fun to be there on Saturday to see students kind of running down the hall in anticipation to see where is their artwork and then to be able to show it off. And so I really appreciate Mr. Mouton for opening up the doors of Rock Hill High School so that we could have that event. We also had community vendors from the surrounding area who also came in, so that was fun to be able to engage with our community as well. So we actually have 2 students who've received gold seals for their art through the Texas Art Education Association. And so this is the base event. The state gold seal medallion is the highest achievement a student can earn in Texas. So I have 2 students, Carolina Meow.
It's really well done.
It's beautiful. And then Violet Delaney.
The teacher.
And so we'd also like to honor their teachers, Claire Bassett from Rockville High School. Actually, Claire. So I need Violet Delaney, the teacher, Claire Bassett, the student, and Gina Mock, the teacher. Get that all squared away. Guess I should have put my glasses back on. That would have been helpful. So this is a very, very high honor. And if you've ever seen our students' artwork, it is mind-blowing what our kids can do. And that starts all the way kindergarten, all the way through 12th grade. But it's almost like it's a picture and it's a painting. It looks like someone's taken a photograph of what you created. So tell us a little bit about your pieces, because we would love to hear about them. Yes. First. Yes.
My piece was about connection, and basically I want all the pieces together to kind of show an abstract visual representation of that. My piece is about my feeling about hope and creation, and
Well, excellent. We actually had a senior citizen luncheon last week, and one of the ladies that was attending, she came up to me, and her husband was very involved with BASE, and so there are multiple scholarships in his name and his honor. So I would encourage you, because you are a state level competitor, to really try to maybe tap into that to get some scholarship money. And I told her, I said, well, we have some students, and wouldn't it be great if someone from her very own school district were able to get awarded? So maybe that helped us. I don't know. I was trying. So, congratulations.
Seriously.
Great job.
I know.
Next, we have
Awesome.
the Johnson fifth grade fire performance. You may have heard us echoing our pledge, but actually it was no one throwing their voice. It was Johnson fifth graders coming out. I do want to say also, Ms. Albarin, who is their music teacher, she was also a CEF Star Polisher, and just awarded as basically Teacher of the Month at Johnson. So congratulations.
Tell me the colors of Christmas. Red and green, red and green. Tell me the colors of Christmas. Red and green, red and green. Holly and ivy and berries and rose. Colors of Christmas that everyone knows. Follow, follow. Tell me the colors of Christmas. Red and green, red and green. Tell me the colors of Christmas. Red and green, red and green. Holly and ivy and berries and boughs. Colors of Christmas that everyone knows. Follow, follow, follow. Deck the halls with boughs of holly, la 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 la. 'Tis the season to be jolly, la 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 la. Don we now our gay apparel, la 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 la
Great job.
Let's give the Johnson Choir another round of applause. That was awesome.
Great work.
Great job, guys. Okay, I know that we have several students still sitting in the audience, and y'all are more than welcome to stay with us if y'all would care to this evening through the business meeting. We're about to go into some financial reports here in a second, which I'm sure y'all would find riveting. But if y'all would like to, this might be a great time to head out and go home. I know that y'all are all academically minded, so a little study time for you. So we'll give y'all just a minute to go if you'd like to, but of course you're welcome to stay always.
Musical practice.
That's right, more musical practice.
Hard not to sing along.
Y'all have to stay.
Bye, thank y'all.
Thanks, guys.
Get your scarf packed. Bye, Clark.
Use the scarf in Chicago or the boardroom. It stays a little chilly in
Chilly
here.
here, yes, chilly here. We're acclimating. That's what we're up to.
We're acclimating. That's good. I will.
Where's James go? And Jordan, what's happening down this wall? I don't.
Mr. Witt, I promise I still want to hear what it is that you have to say tonight, even though we're having a mass exodus. I still want to hear what it is you have to tell us tonight, even though there's a mass exodus.
Just don't ask me to sing.
We won't.
Please
Don't
don't.
worry.
Future meeting, future meeting. All right. Thank you, guys. While the last people are making their way out, we do have, this brings us to public comment and agenda items. We do have one person signed up this evening to speak. We appreciate everyone who's willing to come in to speak in front of the board. We always say, hey, we encourage people to reach out to the board members as well. Let's see here. This evening, speaker will be allotted 3 minutes to speak. And we ask that when you come up, tell us your name and whether or not you preside or reside in Prosper ISD boundaries. Mr. Sims has signed up to speak this evening. Mr. Sims, are you with us tonight? Okay. Apparently no Mr. Sims, so we will move straight into informational reports. And the first one that we have up is quarterly financials.
Hi, Miss Cease.
Hello, good evening. I'm here to present the first quarter financials for 23-24. It's kind of crazy that we're already here, but we are. We're in the final stages of the 22-23 audit. We're wrapping that up the next couple weeks. Right now we're working in 3 years, so we're in prior year, present, current year, and already looking toward 24-25 and ahead. So we're looking at the investment portfolio. Bond funds are at $180.3 million, and you can see we've spent down quite a bit from last year. The general fund is at $157.9 million for a total portfolio of $382.6 million. You might notice that there's an added account there, and that's the internal service fund that we moved money out for at the end of last year. Interest revenues are performing really well compared to last year. And as of November 30th, we've gained like $2 million in the general fund. So we're moving on to the general fund. Tax revenue is $7.4 million or 4.8% of the budget. The taxes will start coming in this month and then significantly next month. Total revenues at $69.2 million or 22.6% of the budget. And the expenditures are at, payroll is $56 million for total expenditures of $68.3 million. And the athletic fund it looks good. We will continue to monitor it for any necessary budget amendments. Revenues at $428,000 and expenses are at $422,000 with a small surplus. There's a significant difference from last year, if you noticed that, but that's just the summer camps because the revenue needs to be recognized in the year it was actually earned. And so that's the change. So going forward, we'll be good. So food service, we'll move on to that. It looks good and as expected at this point in the year. 3.9 in revenue and 3.7 in expenses with the surplus of 128,000, which is right on, and we're happy with that. Debt service, taxes there's minimal tax revenue at this point, and we again expect to see a significant increase next month when tax bills are due. But at this point, we have a large surplus there, but that won't stay long because the debt payment is due in February. So then we're running into the construction projects. Jackson, scheduled for August of 2024. The expenditures are $15.4 million, and the remaining construction balance is 63%. Then we have Jones Middle School opening August 2024. We're about $70 million in expenses and 40% remaining, right at 40%. Mosley is $24.7 million, and with the remaining of about 81%, and that's scheduled for August of 2025. And Richland High School, cumulative at 43.5, and remaining is 89%, and that is scheduled for August of 2025 as well. And that concludes.
Thank you,
All
Ms.
right,
Cease.
thank you. All right, that will take us up to 7B, a report on the next steps for the 2023 bond program.
Okay, good evening. It's good to be back. Congratulations on the bond election. There was a tremendous amount of time and effort that went into that. I recognize that, and so I'll just start by telling you congratulations. These are hard-fought battles that take place, and you're to be commended for where we stand today. I think, okay, there we go. So as always, I'll start with where the interest rate market is. You can see here the bond buyers index, the same chart and graph that we bring to you every time. On the far right side of the graph, you'll see the index is below the average. The average runs across the middle at 4%, record high at 6% in 2008, record low in 2020 at 2%. And here recently, over the past 6 weeks or so, interest rates have actually come back down. And that's what we see where we are today. So again, overall, our market is below average from a historical level. Doesn't tell the whole story. We have a flat yield curve and all of these other technicals that we talk about. But all in all, our borrowing cost is fair and reasonable on an average basis over a period of time. Tax rate history, not telling you anything you don't already know. Your tax rate has been coming down. The maintenance and operating tax rate is in black. The INS tax rate, voted bond tax rate, is in green. It's been level at the 50 cents for a long period of time. And of course, your maintenance and operating tax rate has been compressed here recently. This is an interesting chart because it shows the green bars at what your tax base was. And then the growth numbers are above that. So when you start looking at growing from the $7.5 billion up to the $20 billion over this period of time, that's massive growth, obviously. When you look at the growth number at the top of the far right bar at $4 billion, $4.4 billion, that was the number before the $100,000 homestead exemption. If you take into account the 100,000 or the increase to 100,000 homestead exemption, the growth was $3 billion. So another part of our bond model going forward is going to be what we call hold harmless, because we get some state revenues for that lost value from the 4.4 billion down to the 3 billion. So that'll be another component of any spreadsheet or bond model that you see from us, particularly those on the finance committee. So the last two numbers of growth are 3+ billion, 4+ billion. The years before that, had a 1 in front. So the question going forward, as we implement and execute the plan of finance for the bonds that have been approved, are we going to be in the $3.5 to $4.5 billion growth range? Or are we going to get back to a reset being around $1.5 million, $2 billion, $1.5 billion, $2 billion of growth? That will dictate how fast we implement the facility plan. But right now, the last two numbers are in the $4 billion range. And as you've heard from me in the past, to keep the math simple, we're using about $100 million of bond capacity for $1 billion to $1.2 billion in growth of your value. So if you ask me, how long does it take to implement $2.5 billion worth of bonds? Well, at a growth rate of $4 billion, it's going to take about 6 years. Now, if this accelerates as it's done in the past 2 years, we will accelerate with it, okay? So that's our taxable value history. We'll get our next value in April, which will be a preliminary value, our next certified value in July. But remember that when we sold the $250 million this time last year and we grew $4 billion this year, we've got bond capacity sitting on the shelf that we have not utilized because we sold less bonds than what you grew into. So bond capacity, the only thing that I would bring up here, obviously the type of assets that were being financed determine bond capacity as well. So you have a mixture of assets. One component is technology. That will have a different bond capacity figure than what I just gave to you. And it's something that we need to be mindful of when we implement a bond program to make sure that we're amortizing the portion of the bonds that are dedicated to technology different than we're amortizing the bonds that are for the new high school, for example, okay? So preliminary bond program analysis, this is stuff that you saw from me last time as we were talking about this pre-election. We're using $1.15 billion of taxable value to equal 100 million issuance. Again, that's for facilities. The 2023 issue was 250 million, again, less than the capacity of what you actually grew. You grew at 4.4 billion, as I just mentioned, 3 billion after the homestead exemption, and now we're going to have an acronym ASAHE for additional state aid for the homestead exemption, what we call hold harmless, will be a part of the bond model. That money is being calculated now as we speak in Austin with the TEA. There have been 2 generations prior to this one of increased homestead exemption on a much smaller scale and a much lesser impact to this district. But with the increase from 40,000 to 100,000, it is a big number, and it's a big number statewide. And so we're looking for the actual numbers to come to us at least for 1 year, 2 years to make sure that they're coming in as the methodology would indicate in terms of hold harmless. So new growth supports the new bonds. We're going to have a rolling 3-year bond model, and let me explain that briefly. When you enter into contracts for construction, they're generally over a 3-year period, a 2-year period, a year period, depending on what it is that you're building. So in our finance model, where we're issuing bonds into 1 year's worth of growth, rather than leveraging up 5 years of growth for one bond series, I'm only issuing into the next year's growth. And that's fine from a financial perspective, but we have commitments over a 3-year period. And so what we need to do is get with the administration, look at what the priorities are, what our commitments are going to be over a 3-year period, and then I model that from a plan of finance to match the facility plan. And we'll go through that same process again here in January. So that's the reason I call it a rolling 3-year bond model. We'll issue the first tranche. We'll have 2 years of planned issuance. We'll get a certified value, and that will change those issuance, but I need to make sure that the district can afford the contracts that you have over the next 3 years and green light that as part of the program. And I know what to do if we have a slowdown of growth in the middle of construction. We know what to do in these circumstances. But right now, we are really just issuing bonds with where you're growing in 1 year, and that's unusual for a fast growth district. Oftentimes, we have to leverage up 3 years of growth, 5 years of growth. The reason we don't do that here is because you're going to continue to issue bonds each and every year, and you're going to need that future growth for future bonds. So the next step, permanent school fund application, we'll make that this month. We'll receive the letter from them in January 21st. I think your next board meeting is January 22nd. We'll probably have an agenda item asking for delegation to issue and sell bonds at that meeting. We'll do all the preliminary work leading up to that. And on this page, the second bullet point, we're going to meet with the administration to talk about matching my modeling of finance with their modeling of what our needs are, matching a demographic study and when we need to open buildings and work backwards. That's where everyone gets stressed out because it's very, very challenging to create the bond capacity for the needs exactly when you need them because I have to work from a forecast. But with that said, that is the driving force here is the growth and the needs for facilities. And then we try to build a plan of finance that matches that without any type of stress on the district's finances. We'll blend the construction needs. We'll then generally come back to a finance committee to go through the detail. This is where I go from PowerPoint to spreadsheet type of data, go through it in detail, matching the construction needs with the issuance plan, and then see if there's any question at a detailed finance committee level. And then we bring it to the board for action item with a PowerPoint presentation to kind of summarize how many bonds we plan to issue in the next year plus the following 2 years as part of that 3-year bond model. And then, of course, I kid myself a little bit at the end, it's rinse and repeat at the bottom. And we do it over again about quarterly or every 6 months. We'll do that same set of steps on an ongoing basis. So with that, that's just a report for you tonight. It's an information item. If there's any questions that you have about the bond program or the bond model that I haven't covered, happy to answer that. Otherwise, we'll be back at your next board meeting, probably with a detailed plan of finance.
Thank you, sir. Any questions from anyone at this point?
Is there a timeline on that ASAHE from TEA?
So they told us, generally speaking, that the latest round and calculations would not be available in February, which Texas schools have February and August payments. And so they've alerted everyone to be aware that you need to pay for that without receiving the increased state aid for that additional homestead exemption.
Thank you, Doug.
Do we know how long they plan to do the hold harmless?
It's indefinite.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right,
it better be indefinite or we're gonna have some bond models break down. It's, generally speaking, the hold harmless from the prior increases to the homestead exemption have been continuous. The number changes. The methodology and the calculation gets new data each and every year.
Okay.
So there's a mechanism by which they calculate it, and it changes as your tax base changes, et cetera. But it is an ongoing commitment to hold us harmless for the value that we lost, which has also been lost on an ongoing basis.
I would think so. Good, thank you.
Thank you, sir. We
Thank
appreciate
y'all
it. We'll
very
see you
much.
next month. We will now go to 7C, an update on Bond 2019 construction projects. along.
Yes, sir.
Let's see here, an enrollment update.
Yeah, so as of today, we're at 28,628 students, and you can see that's an add of an additional 3,616 students from last year at this time, which is unheard of growth, unprecedented for sure. So
Did we get anybody today?
I'm sure we did.
All right.
I'm almost most definite that we did.
There we
And
go.
then there's going to be the January rush
Oh, yeah.
when we get back from the holidays. So some of our schools sometimes see upwards of 30 or so kids that show up that day to join us because of the amazing education that our teachers and staff provide.
Yes, they do.
Okay, Mr. McLaughlin is going to provide us a report about the Model Professional Learning Community Program that our administrators are working diligently towards.
Yeah, good evening. I apologize, I bring no robots, no drones, but I am excited to talk about the work that it's occurring throughout the district this year as we work towards a model of a collaborative culture. But I think to begin to understand where the work that we're doing today, I think it's important to go back to where this started to fully understand the context and the story behind the work that we're doing at our campuses and throughout our district. Approximately a year and a half ago, Dr. Ferguson asked to meet with the members of the executive cabinet. Wide range of topics were discussed, but out of that, at some point in the day, she asked a question that went something like, if we were to do one thing really well or change one thing, what would have the greatest impact on our district and the kids in the district? We had a wide range of discussion on a whole bunch of different topics, but out of that came an agreement to a recommitment to building a collaborative culture that we felt would be the vehicle that would drive district action and student success forward. Out of that one question, I would say has come the clearest, strongest alignment of district focus, actions, resources, support, professional learning that, quite frankly, I've ever seen in my entire career. You can see that in the clear alignment of the instructional focus and the leadership actions, professional learning towards a singular goal, actions on our teacher collaborative teaming, and then collaborative partnerships at the district level with our campuses as well. Setting a goal of going towards model PLC designation is clearly an aspirational goal for a district to set. Quite frankly, there's not many districts that would even try to go after something like this. Our why behind it is the same why that for every action, which is our kids, right? Everything behind all of our actions in this district is about what's best for our students. And our belief is that creating a collaborative culture that supports our teachers, administrators, is what will bring about the best environment and student learning focus for our kids. At the school level, this looks like a commitment to the three main ideas of a professional learning community. Number one, focus on learning. Two, building a collaborative culture and creating a results orientation, which looks like everyone at the school level having ownership for the success of every kid and using data to analyze the actions of our collaborative teams and our campus administrators. And our belief is that a collaborative culture is what's going to drive high quality instruction and planning that will impact the student achievement at our schools. Within each PLC, there are 4 critical questions that every teacher collaborative team must ask at some point in the lesson cycle. Question 1, which is, what do we want our students to learn? Question 2, how will we know if each student has learned it? Question 3, how will we respond when some students do not learn it? And then question 4, which is, how can we extend and enrich the learning for students who have demonstrated proficiency, which is clearly a top priority in Prosper ISD. Now, the teacher teams will not work through these questions. If you went to a collaborative team meetings, you wouldn't see teachers working through these 4 critical questions every time they met, but depending upon where they were at in the lesson cycle, different points in the year, and the needs of their kids, you would see collaborative teams working through these questions at some point. And then in Prosper, we look at the PLC as how it impacts the culture of both our campuses and the district processes. At the district level, our commitment is consistent and regular support from the district level to our teachers and our campuses. In this time, and I know we've talked a lot about teacher hiring and recruitment, but quite honestly, in today's world, the best recruitment we can do is to hang on to the amazing teachers that we already have. And our belief is that a collaborative culture is a big piece of retaining the teachers that we have, because the support that you can get on a team when you're really connected to a team that's functioning at a high level, those people are going to stay. And then again, ultimately, great teachers that are with us for the long haul is going to lead to success, both for our teachers, but then in turn for our students. So the additional support comes through our professional learning that we've kind of run through, going back to our leadership retreat at Holdsworth last May. My team has worked hand in hand with the curriculum instruction team, planning and delivering professional learning. The first and the main one is our monthly meeting that we call Leaders of Learning, that have our principals and district leaders. We get together. Our focus this year has been on collaborative processes and collaborative decision making. The CNI team started this work this summer in their Prosper Connects conference, and that through line of PLCs and collaborative culture was evident in every session a teacher could attend in that conference this summer that we held at Rock Hill. And I know Teresa Biggs, if she was up here with me, would join me in saying that one of the key pieces of support, and 4 people that I want to specifically recognize in moving this work forward on both Teresa's team and my team, are Stephanie Cockrell, Katie Gray, Stephanie Sipes, and Wendy Young. Those 4 have been so instrumental in moving this work forward. And if you have not met them, they are 4 rising stars in this district. And we, both Teresa and I, feel super blessed to have those 4 working closely, providing consistent and regular support for our campus administrators. They are out on campuses, planning, meeting, coaching, visiting classrooms, planning meetings, and just providing for that support. And then the CNI team are providing consistent and regular support for our teachers, from the curriculum directors, the curriculum coordinators, and the instructional coaches. Our belief in Prosper is that everyone deserves to have a coach, right? And so they are out there working with every team and every teacher. Additionally, we have other professional learning provided through meetings that we call our Principal PLC. And in these meetings, the principals have the opportunity to collaborate with district leaders on a variety of topics. And then during that meetings, they have time to do what they love to do best, which is collaborate with one another. This year, Dr. Ferguson has led meetings that we call model PLC meetings, and she has led principals organized through their feeder patterns, and they have looked at leadership and support and through a different lens in a variety of venues in the district. And then the cool thing out of all this work, all the professional learning, is that the collaboration among our principals has continued beyond the meetings. They call each other, they visit each other's schools, they work through different problems, they share resources. Our principals are competitive and they want their schools to be the very best, but they don't let that competition get in the way of one another. And as much as they want the success for their school, they want success for all of our schools. And then this fall, Nick Jones and the Prosper High administrative team were asked to present at Region 10 on their journey towards Model PLC designation to leaders throughout the region. At the district level, same commitment to professional learning. Even though the PLC process really is focused a lot at the campus level, we've tried to extend this theme and thread of a collaborative culture throughout our district, and Dr. Penn and Dr. Bradley have planned and delivered professional learning that's aligned to the work that we're doing at the campus level, but they've differentiated the learning for the needs of the district leaders so that we're aligned, but they're getting growth opportunities that really better fits the work of the leaders in the departments. All right, so we are going to continue the work this spring. Coming attractions, maybe not as exciting as the Avengers or Godzilla versus King Kong, but what's coming forward for us is in January, when we come back, Luis Cruz, who's a former school administrator and now works as a consultant, will be coming in 2 days and working with our principals on moving this work forward. Also kind of with a focus on how do you keep a collaborative culture going in a fast growth district like this when we're constantly splitting schools and half your teachers are going to new schools, and how do you keep that sustainable model so that this culture sustains through that growth. In February, we are taking all of our principals to visit a model PLC district in the Houston area, And then also in February, we are bringing PLC at Work conferences over 3 days for administrators and small groups of teachers to attend that learning. Also, the spring work will continue our focus on campus plan on a page, the goals that the campuses have set. Our belief is that the PLC and collaborative process supports schools reaching those goals that they've set around innovative learning, empowering and equipping educators, and engaging our families and our communities. Our belief is that the collaborative culture supports the attainment of the goals on the plan on the page, and that if you were to visit classrooms, that you would see evidence of the goals on the plan on page in classrooms across our district. That's our goal. So this roadmap, this is probably as much for me and Teresa and our teams as anybody, but this is the roadmap that we've tried to follow this year in both our professional learning, but then in our work. We started in September on the pillars of the culture, what we believe, our value systems, and our goals. And then we've spent time working on what do high-performing collaborative teams look like, how do you timely monitor student learning. This spring will be focused on systems of intervention and extension. And somewhere down the road, with hopefully we won't have too many stop-offs at Buc-ee's, we will reach model PLC designation. It won't happen all at once for our campuses. Our new campuses aren't even eligible for that designation, but schools are all working towards that, and in time, that's the goal for everyone. And I want to close with this, because this really, to me, is what our work is about. It's more important than ever that educators collaborate to continually improve and support the success of each learner, and in time, each other. And so then the last thing I want to close with is I want to acknowledge the work of the people who really deliver on all of the goals at the district, which is our campus principals and assistant principals. If you have not been in other places, you may not know how amazing these two groups of leaders are, but they are the one that take all of our crazy ideas and put them to work for the benefit of kids. And so I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the exceptional work that our principals and assistant principals are doing on this topic, in addition to the other things that they've got on their plate. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. McLaughlin and his team, Mr. Crownover, they've done an excellent job of really creating a lot of clarity. What I truly appreciate is that many times when you get to be the size of district we are, it can become very kind of like, we're going to tell you what to do. And so they've done a really nice job of putting some boundaries and bumpers in place, but still allowing a lot of autonomy for leaders to lead and to be able to make decisions. So I truly appreciate it, and excellent presentation. Thank you so much, Mr. McLaughlin, to you and your team.
Thank you. That brings us to 8A, consent agenda. We have the November 13 minutes. Everybody got a chance to review those. And any questions, anything of that nature from anyone? If not,
I'll move to approve.
thank you, Mr. Bridges.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Van Wolf. All in favor? That's all of us. Moving along. 9A, action items. Let's see here. Consideration and possible action on the 2024-2025 elementary school attendance boundaries.
Okay, thank you, members of the board. We're talking about rezoning again, not always our favorite topic, but getting to add schools to relieve some of the overcrowding is. And so, as you well know, we are opening Jackson Elementary next fall. And so we presented these proposed boundaries to you last month. And then on November 29th, we gathered at Spradley and allowed anyone from the community to come. And many of you were there to gather feedback from our families. And then we also provided an online portal for a form for them to respond to. I believe we got about 45 responses regarding this. Some were just questions, some were wanting some clarification. But overall, I think what we're proposing tonight is a slight adjustment to what I showed you in November. We had missed a small piece of Miramont. It's very difficult down there to tell where Miramont ends and Crown Ridge begins, and so it's actually the back of a fence line that runs between two roads, Matthew Lane and Monstrell Road. And so we are proposing to adjust that boundary just a little bit west, right there above Panther Creek Parkway, there's about 20 students that currently reside in that portion. We reached out to them on Friday, gave them the opportunity to provide feedback. We did receive some feedback from them. 80% of them said they wanted to stay at Spradley. We're happy about that adjustment to stay with the rest of Crown Ridge. So I feel like that was a good response there. So overall, we've interacted with about 48 to 50 parents in this process. And then you will see that the numbers with what we're proposing tonight accomplish what we hope to accomplish in this, getting Spradley to what we believe will more than likely be its terminal zone. Again, it's impossible to predict what the district looks like 10 years from now, but the density of the homes around Spradley, similar to Hughes and Fur, has this being a fairly small zone. I believe this zone would hold for many years to come. And so that would have about 747 students at Spradley next year. We know that number is probably a little bit low. Normally our demographer number is a little bit low, but that's in the range. Again, schools that are, we would love to have 750 to 800 students in the school. Right now we have over 1,060 students in this campus. And so they're definitely overcrowded, but this zone would get us to around 750. It currently shows Jackson right at 500. I believe it's 498 is what's on the sheet. I do believe that's a good number to start with at Jackson because, as you know, and the map demonstrates, sorry, wrong one, a lot of the western part of Jackson zone is unknown, right? I mean, more than likely in the years to come, we will need to have another elementary in that. So it is good that it has a small number to begin with, because I believe over the years to come, we're going to see some substantial growth in the Jackson zone. But this would get Spradley to what we think. Again, don't know perfectly, but believe this would be its terminal zone. So I think all in all, I feel confident in this recommendation, knowing that every family has a unique story. There's always someone that may prefer a different outcome, but feel confident in this recommendation tonight for your adoption.
Just to
Okay.
be clear, people have an opportunity still to petition if they need.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We will open up a opportunity in the spring. We already communicated at those meetings that some of you were at that students maybe had been through Spradley from K through fourth grade and wanted to remain there for fifth grade. We certainly want to allow that, and I believe these numbers would allow that to happen. And so we've already made that known, but yes, we will provide an opportunity for people to ask for a transfer in the spring.
I know that as a board, we heard from a good amount of community members. Thank you to the zoning subcommittee that went out and met with people out there. Dr. Bradley, thank you specifically for that small group of families that you talked about. Ms. Dixon, you spoke to me specifically about that and getting in contact with them prior to that. So good job, everybody, on that. With that being said, is there a motion on this? Then we can have some discussion.
I'll make the motion. I move that the board approve the 2024-2025 elementary school attendance boundaries as presented by administration.
Thank you, Mr. Linker. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mrs. Dixon. Any discussion on that further?
I just want to say thank you again. Very exciting to open a campus when we get to, not exciting to move children, as we've stated many times, and I'll probably repeat this again when we look at the middle school maps. But I'm so thankful for the time and effort put into those meetings with families and the communication back and forth, and how important it was to get that feedback for not only the subcommittee, but just as the board as a whole, to hear from families how it impacts them, and then the extra effort to go back to those families. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I echo that. And I'm thankful for the families that did communicate, right? That's it's really important for us to be able to hear that and be able to make educated decisions. To your point, Dr. Bradley, we don't know all the stories out there, and so doing our best to hear those and use the data to make the best choice possible.
Perfect. All right, let's go ahead and vote. We have a motion and a second. All in favor? That is all 7 of us. None opposed. Motion passes. Take us to 9B, consideration possible action on the 2024-2025 middle school attendance boundaries.
I would be remiss without mentioning Ms. Trotter in the communications department, who put these maps together and continue to do a lot of the legwork on this and collecting feedback. And so her group has done a great job helping us with this, because as we continue to create more and more maps and try to divide up these zones, it can be challenging. Very similar information with the middle school. We had a feedback session on November 30th, and so again, some of you were there at Hayes Middle School when we had the ability for parents to come and listen to the presentation and ask questions. We received some feedback there. On this one, we received about 75 responses online. Again, some positive, some questioning, some maybe not exactly happy with what's going on. And so we took all of that feedback in, evaluated what we received on November 30th, the online situation, but what we're bringing to you tonight is essentially, it is the same map we showed you in November. Right now, as you know, Hayes Middle School has over 1,900 students at it, which is just, it's a high school basically, right? And our administration down there has done a fantastic job of really doing everything they can to make sure that our families don't feel that pain and our students are taken care of. And so they've done a fantastic job, but that is not sustainable. And I know a lot of our students have had a great experience there, and that's why they don't want to leave. But this would divide the zones by elementary. And I know there was a lot of discussion in the feedback we received about trying to get true feeder patterns, and we're doing everything we can to do that. Right now, across the district, we're getting to a point where we've kind of got one or the other. Maybe the elementaries are completely feeder pattern to the middle school, or the middle school's feeder pattern to the high school, but it's still difficult to get all three levels aligned. And again, that's just because we're growing 3,600 kids every 12 months. And so we felt at this time keeping Baker, Reeves, and Hughes together at Jones, along with First, Bradley, and Jackson at Hayes made the most sense. This, again, gets Hayes' number down to a much more manageable number, going from over 1,900 to below 1,200. We do know that Hayes, having Jackson Zone, will experience some growth out to the west over the years to come. So just as we mentioned, it has some capacity to grow. And then Jones Middle School, as you remember, was built with a larger capacity as we finished out the second floor. And so it opens with just under 1,100 according to these numbers. We do know there's going to be some growth in that zone as well, so I think it's a good start for it. It'd be nice. We rarely have the ability to open a campus that's not at capacity, so that would be nice to be able to open a campus and have a little room. And then the last thing I just want to mention, because I know several of the board members heard this as well, this is a difficult situation. We hear a lot from our families on the McKinney side. I wish there was a better answer, and I think there is going to be a better answer soon. But we are still dealing with some. In fact, I had 2 meetings last week about the infrastructure challenges on the east side of the district and getting water and sewer to that northern portion. So we do own a middle school site over there. But I would say almost all of the feedback that we had that was questioning is what are we going to do about our families at Baker and Reeves so that they don't have to go so far west. And so I want you to know that we've heard that, and we want to do everything we can to help with that. But the infrastructure challenge is still there. I think I'm encouraged that there's going to be some answers here pretty quickly. And so I think this is the best move today to keep those families, Baker, Reeves, and Hughes together, Jackson, Spradley, and Furr together.
Perfect. Thank you, Dr. Bradley. I think that we can say again everything echoed that we just said a moment ago. Any questions for Dr. Bradley while we have him up here?
I think on this one, it's just important to think about, as we looked at the data and the feedback from the community, we did receive both positive and maybe not so positive feedback on the forms. And so then thinking about, the data, thinking about the staffing, the programming at the schools, the facilities, right, and all the things that having 1,900 kids at a campus does. And so that's where I think, a lot of this, where we may land today is based on that information and doing our best to hear the community's feedback, but also having to take those other factors into consideration as part of this.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dial. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion. I move that the board approve the 2024-2025 middle school attendance boundaries as presented by administration.
Thank you, Mr. Dial. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Cavender. Any further discussion on this? Hearing none. All those in favor? That is all 7 of us, none opposed. All right. Moving along to
School calendar.
school calendars. Thank you very much, Dr. Ferguson. Let's see here, 2024, 2025 school calendars. We also had a lot of feedback on those as well, so.
Good, and we do appreciate all of the
we do.
feedback that we received. Calendar A is the one that is in front of you. That was the clear winner in this. Just want to point out a couple things on this calendar because it really impacts graduation, which would obviously be our senior class. As you can see, we would end school on Friday, May 23rd, 2025. So that means a graduation that evening. Then we would roll to Saturday with 2 graduations to stay away from the Sunday, because we don't want to hold a graduation on Sunday if we can keep from it. And then that is also Memorial Day weekend, which is kind of tough, but also a great thing for our graduates to be able to have family in town. But we'll get that schedule out as soon as we can once the calendar has been approved. But just want to point that out to everyone, and it's just the way that the calendar falls and the minutes that we have to make sure that we're providing to students by TEA.
All right, thank you, Dr. Ferguson. Again, this was the calendar that most people, thank you, got the numbers here in support of. 65% of the responses in support of calendar A. Any questions from the board? All right, hearing none, is there a motion?
I move that the board approve the 2024-2025 school calendar as presented by the administration.
Thank you, Mr. Van Wolf. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mrs. Dixon. Okay, anything else by anybody?
Big shout out to the 5,500 people who let their voice be heard.
Yeah, exactly.
feedback was
That's a
great
good
to hear.
response rate right there, so kudos to Prosper ISD. Okay, all in favor? That is all 7 of us. All right, that takes us to 9D, consideration and possible action regarding the calendar for Public Information Act requests.
This came out of the 88th legislative session. You may think, gosh, we just did this, and we did, because we had to take action on the current calendar and designate the days for public information. In the past, it was when the school closed, then we weren't working, we didn't have staff, and so the legislators decided that we needed to designate specific days on the school calendar in which there would be holidays or the school district would be closed, that we would actually be open to, I believe it's 10 days for public information, a request to be made, and then we would start working on those because they all have an expiration and a timeline on them. So that's what we're bringing to you tonight, are the recommendations for those days to designate on the calendar that you just approved for 24-25.
All right, perfect. Okay, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion. I move that the board approve the calendar for the Public Information Act request as presented by administration.
Thank you, Mr. Cavender. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Linker. Any questions, comments by anyone? All right, hearing none, all in favor? That is all 7 of us. 9E, consideration and possible action on innovative courses for the 24-25 school year.
So it's hard to believe, but we are getting ready for course selection for our students for 24-25, and so we need to have all of those courses ready. Really appreciate the curriculum and instruction department working closely with our teachers and staff to see what those needs were out there as far as CTE also. And so what you have are innovative courses coming to you for 24-25 for students to sign up for. So a biomedical innovations course, practicum in entrepreneurship, forensic psychology, retail management, and then team sports officiating. So those are all courses, some of them being on level and then some of those being able to be given honors. We have to submit this to TEA for their approval as an innovative course because it allows these courses to deviate outside of the TEKS. And so we would submit these with your approval.
All right, great.
I'd just like to say I want to go back to high school.
Oh, be careful, Miss Dixon.
The officiating group, Coach Little, that's going to be awesome. I worked as a baseball umpire during college, and I think that there's probably a few freshmen and JV teams that wishes that I had a course like that prior to officiating their games. So I am excited for these kids. Okay, is there a motion for this?
I'll make a motion. I move that the board approve the innovative courses for the 2024-2025 school year as presented by administration.
Thank you, Mrs. Dixon. Is there a second?
I'll second.
I think Mr. Dial
Mr.
got it.
Dial, for sure.
Ooh, close race.
Hands down.
Okay, any discussion by anyone? Okay, hearing none, all in favor? That is all 7 of us. All right, 9G. Consideration and possible action on the, I'm sorry, 9F.
F, yeah.
F, yes. Apologies,
All the letters of the alphabet. Okay.
all right, consideration and possible action regarding changes to board policy.
Just want to say I really appreciate Mr. Crownover and Ms. Matthews and the work that they've done, working specifically with our subcommittee so that there's good information coming. But they also have a group of administrators who come together to help weigh in on policy as well. And so it's been a great process to see that move forward and then how it comes to this point. And that's an ongoing that they have all year, really vetting and going through and auditing our own policy to bring forward to you for your input.
The board subcommittee on that is myself, Mrs. Dixon, and Mr. Dial. Again, I have learned a considerable amount through this process, and thank you for the work that y'all have done on that. Okay, is there a motion for this?
I move the board approve the board policy updates as presented by administration.
Thank you, Mr. Van Wolf. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mrs. Dixon. Questions, comments from anyone? Okay, cleaning up some things here, so this is good. I'm absolutely supportive of it as well, just so y'all know, sitting through the meeting. So
It's public too, so it's on our board agenda so that the public can review where those changes are.
correct. Okay.
And I think just to add, this is a cycle, right? This is a process. We're kind of going through all board policy. And so really cleaning that up for our district, it's a good process.
Yeah. And as it is it takes a while to go through that, so we're not bogging them down with the entire thing all at once. So, anyway. Okay, we'll go ahead and call for a vote. All in favor? That is all 7 of us. None opposed. Okay, 9G, consideration and possible action on an order of election to be held on May 4, 2024, for the purposes of electing school board of trustees, places 4 and 7. Okay, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion. I move that the board approve an order of election to be held on May 4th, 2024 for the purpose of electing school board trustees, place 4 and place 7.
Thank you, Mrs. Dixon. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Dial. Any questions or comments from anyone? Okay, all in favor? That is all 7 of us. 9H, consideration and possible action on the guaranteed max price for elementary number 19. Dr. Bradley, you've got some information for us.
Yes, got a little information to add too. We bid these back right before the Thanksgiving break. And so we bid 19 and 20 on the same day, but they are 2 separate bids, just so you know that we put them out at the same time and hope that we would maybe get some economies of scale, but they are treated as 2 separate bids. And we know that subcontractors bid separately on these jobs. Tonight, before I forget, back here from Pogue, we have Brandon Colquitt, Shane Williams, and Roby Bledsoe that are here representing. So if there's any questions, I might just pass them off to them. But we do want to give you a little information about elementary number 19. So elementary 19 would be the last elementary built out of the 2019 bond. And it would be the 18th time we've used this prototype. And this is going in Legacy Gardens. And I know a question that will pop up, so I want to go ahead and address it now. You're going to see that 19 is a little bit higher than 20. They're only going to be about 2 miles apart, actually, from Mosaic to Legacy Gardens. They're both west of the tollway, and anytime we talk about being west of the tollway, you know that we talk about the soil condition over there causes a few more piers and tends to be a little deeper. In this situation, elementary 20 is actually has the deeper piers and a little more foundation work. The reason elementary 19 is higher, costs a little more, is that we have a lot more off-site work to do at elementary 19. So when we purchased land from Risland, which is the developer at Legacy Gardens, we made a purchase a couple of years ago that the board approved that was to buy an elementary site and a middle school site. And by buying them together, we paid a substantially reduced price for the square footage that we bought. But as a part of that deal, we agreed to install some infrastructure on the elementary site. So if you were to drive over to Legacy Gardens today, you can see where the elementary school is going to go, but there's no road to the back side of the elementary. And that's part of what we agreed to build when we bought the site. And so actually in the bid, we carried a number that you may have seen. There's a number in the bid on 33B that says off-site public right-of-way improvements, breakout road and utilities. So there's a number of $890,000 in there. That's not an exact number, but I just wanted you to know that's pretty close to just, has nothing to do with the elementary. It's just a part of what we agreed to do. And that's the main reason that what you're seeing on elementary 19 is higher than what you're going to see on elementary 20 is because of some of those off-site improvements. The good news about these two is that we bid Jackson Elementary in February of this year, and same floor plan, and it bid at $36,809,000. So we're definitely still seeing inflation, but at this point it seems like it's 5% and not 15% or something crazy like that. So that is somewhat encouraging that while the price is definitely going up, it's not going up at the rate it was going up previously. And that's part of the reason why, again, we wanted to get these out in front, get them bid before the end of the year so that we can mobilize when we're ready after the cities have permitted. But elementary 19, again, same elementary we've built. It's the last one out of the 2019 bond. And then I'm just going to go ahead and talk about elementary number 20 would be the first elementary built out of the 2023 bond. So this would be the first project financed out of the bond that we just passed. Again, the price is a little bit less. There is a soil condition that we're dealing with there that both of them are a little bit more than Jackson. And so that's part of the reason why the cost is higher. But this will go in Mosaic. Again, just a mile and a half, 2 miles northwest of Legacy Gardens. If you have not driven out Parvin Road, and I imagine you would not, if you've lived here for any length of time, you know not to drive on Parvin Road, okay? For a long time, it was a dangerous proposition to drive on Parvin Road west of the tollway. It now has blacktop all the way from there to 1385. And so you can ride a fairly smooth ride out there. And if you go to Mosaic today, you will see that while there are no residents in Mosaic yet, the model homes are up, and was estimated that there would be 400 occupied homes between now and the time this school would open. Along with, that there's some multifamily that's being built by Creeks of Legacy. So there is a lot of activity going on just west of the tollway. And so we need both of these schools. Again, the number is always higher than I want it to be, but am encouraged that we have not seen extreme inflation from February to now. And so recommending both of these tonight, the GMP for elementary 19 and for 20.
All right, thank you, Dr. Bradley. Any questions for Dr. Bradley while we have him up here? All right, hearing none, I will entertain a motion. And again, this is H. This is, we'll do them one by one. This is elementary 19. Does anyone have a motion on that?
I'll make one. I move the board approve the guaranteed maximum price for elementary number 19 as presented by administration.
Thank you, Mr. Van Wolf. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mrs. Dixon. Questions, discussion on elementary 19? All right, hearing none, all in favor? This is all 7 of us. And then moving right along to 9I, which is very similar, consideration and possible action on the guaranteed maximum price for elementary 20. We just went over everything. So again, I will Ask for a motion.
I move that the board approve the guaranteed maximum price for elementary number 20 as presented by administration.
Thank you, Mr. Cavender. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Bridges. Any other discussion? I'm taking it not, but I'll ask anyway. Okay, all in favor? That is all 7 of us. Motion passes as well. That brings us to public comment on non-agenda items, which nobody signed up for this evening. So we will keep right on going to the report from our superintendent.
Yes, so I want to share a few highlights of the work that's been going on in Prosper ISD. I want to give a lot of credit to our school board who have been going out quarterly on board instructional walks. We were able to go and visit Calhoun Early Childhood School, the happiest place on earth. Most days, right? So, unless someone's having a meltdown. And then we went to the Family Resource Center that the board purchased the Mayhard facility several years ago, and were able to engage with that resource. And then we went back over to Hayes Middle School to be able to see what our students at the middle school level were doing. So we were looking specifically, we have 5 instructional observation points that we focus in on, all the way from the school board down to the campus administrators, and then the teachers are aware of that. And we were looking at student discourse. It was exciting to see also that our teachers at Hayes Middle School were on their walks that day as well. And so we were able to jump in and see some of their learning, which was also a great moment for us. But being able to see our students at Hayes also, just how they're engaging with the building, as Dr. Bradley was pointing out, just the sheer capacity and enrollment in that building, to see how efficiently and effectively that it's run by Mr. DeVito and his team, but also seeing students learn at high levels through robotics, and then 7th grade Texas history, because we even went into a portable, which was tight with all of us and all of the students and the teacher. But I think those are good experiences for us to really be a part of, so that we know exactly what a teacher is experiencing every single day, but also what is a student experiencing every day in our school district. So really appreciate the board going on these walks. You are the envy of most school boards across the state of Texas, so congratulations.
I still that day loved the Texas history teacher's face when we walked in, and she was like, "Hi, you're here." It was great. Hey, great class, great discussion. I enjoyed the minutes that we were in there.
Yes. And then we had the senior citizen luncheon. Now, I was corrected at this event by one of our visitors who said that this should not be called the senior citizen, but it should be called the seasoned citizen luncheon. They prefer that over senior. And I told him that I would take that into advisement for next year. But our culinary students did an outstanding job of preparing the meal. Our fashion students made ornaments. We had the health and science teachers who had wheelchairs to provide assistance. It was just a great event all the way. And then our PHS choir sang probably one of the most beautiful renditions of "Oh Come All Ye Faithful" I think I have ever heard in my entire life. It was gorgeous, so much so that people were on their feet for a standing ovation when that concluded, because it was a pretty special moment. But such a great time, and our seasoned citizens are so very appreciative of this time to be able to come together, but also to have a chance to see our youth. And so all the things that they may think about the youth in their season of life is really completely turned upside down, because they see that there's hope for the future for our great nation, but most specifically for our community and Prosper ISD. So it's just a great event all in all, and loving seeing all of them come back to visit each year. I think we only had a handful of brand new attendees, which I warned them that the plants were for the taking, so you must be ready, because the others will come chasing. And sure enough, the minute we started kind of wrapping things up, they started rushing the stage to get the poinsettias as expected. So it's great.
Can you go back real quick?
Yeah.
The gentleman in the middle, did I understand he's 99 and the oldest living World
Johnny
War II?
Rufus, yes.
War II
He
vet
was a
in the area?
1943 graduate of Prosper High School. He is proud to say there were only 11 students, and he was the 11th student in the graduating class. But he's also a decorated war veteran, also was shot down in Yugoslavia and was a tail gunner in World War II. So a pretty phenomenal story that he has of just what he did and how he tells his story. So we're really excited to have him and to have someone 99 years old to be able to really reflect back on Prosper ISD and Prosper history is a gift. And then we were selected to host a pretty huge event last week. So over 200 administrators, superintendents, and their leadership teams came to Prosper ISD. And so we were the host site to really look at future-ready design, specifically, though, looking at advocacy in Texas public schools. And so it was a great event. I want to say thank you to Tracy McCurry. Most things in this district would not happen without Tracy McCurry. I just want to say, because she puts up with me daily and is the greatest mind reader in all of the world and knows what I'm thinking before I can even say it. And so she was key in really making sure that this event occurred. But we also had numerous staff members. Ms. Church helped us out, Mr. Crownover, Mr. Beavers. It really was a heavy, heavy lift, but probably one of the best events. One of the attendees came up to me the second day and she said, I've been coming to these events for 7 years straight, and this is hands down the absolute best one that I have ever been to. They were, of course, wowed by our facilities and what they offered. And as Dr. Bradley always says, we want them wowed by our facilities when they walk up to them, but we want them even more amazed with the people they've engaged with when they leave our facilities. And that is exactly what happened. Once our students, because they did student-led tours at Walnut Grove High School, making about 8 or so stops, whether it was barbecue and culinary or video gaming, esports, they just kind of went across that campus. But our Hope Squad students actually led the tours. And so many of the superintendents, when they were coming back into the auditorium, said, your kids are incredible. And I said, I know, I'm pretty lucky because we have an amazing staff with amazing parents, which then kids just get the next level. And we've got the perfect recipe, as I always say in Prosper ISD, to make dreams come true for kids. And so I was glad and very honored to be able to host this event, but again, could not have done it without so many people in this room, truly. We had tour guide extraordinaire, Dr. Bradley, Mr. Crownover, Mr. Shirley, Dr. Penn on the bus giving a tour and telling all about Prosper ISD before we landed at different facilities for them to be able to see the early childhood school, Johnson Elementary with Suzuki Strings, Walnut Grove High School with robotics, solar car, and then being able to go to Bryant Elementary to engage with our Hope Squad students. And so it was neat. There were a lot of asks because they want to know what we're doing, which it was not that long ago that it feels like not too many people wanted to know what Prosper ISD was doing. They didn't know where Prosper ISD was. And now all of a sudden we are a highlight. So very proud of the work that our team has done and our students.
Dr. Ferguson, if I may, I think all of us would agree, the few of us that had the opportunity to attend that morning, that you are seen as a leader among leaders, among your peers. And so your poise and posture and your grace that you presented, welcoming everybody to our facilities was very, very well done. And again, just set you apart among some great leaders in the state.
Thank you. Seconded, yes. Well said.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Ferguson, for that. We will now go into closed session in accordance with Texas Government Code Chapter 551, Sections 071, 072, 074, and 076. Thank you all for joining us this evening. We are back. The time is now 11 o'clock straight up. Let's see here. We have, this is item number 14, a consideration and possible action regarding hiring contract personnel. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion. Oh, I move the board approve the hiring of contract personnel as presented by administration.
Thank you, Mrs. Dixon. Is there a second?
I will second.
Thank you, Mr. Van Wolf. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? That is all 7 of us on, that is 14. That takes us to item 14B, consideration and possible action to award a construction manager at risk. Is there a motion? For a construction manager at risk, item 14B. on
Well,
the
I would,
agenda.
yes, I will make a motion to approve a construction manager at risk for multiple projects as presented by administration.
All right, thank you. Mr. Bridges, I'm sorry, it's 11 o'clock at night.
That's right.
I apologize.
Easily
Is there a
forgettable.
second, and then we'll go into discussion?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Van Wolf, second. Okay, so now that we have that out there, I will say this is consideration possible action of rewarding CMR to Pogue Construction for the 14, just to clarify that point. Mr. Bridges, is that correct?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, discussion on this topic. Thoughts for this going
Yeah,
forward?
it's not a caveat, but it's a discussion item. I would like to see direct administration to please work to add language in the contract moving forward that gives us options for external audits to be conducted on some of these projects that are covered by the proposal.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I'll take care of it.
All right, thank you. Other thoughts out there? I know that this is a good amount of projects. This takes us a little while into the future. This decision did not come lightly at all. I would say I'd like to thank Pogue for the years of work that y'all have put into Prosper ISD and bringing us to this point where we are now in a position to take action on this tonight. Any other thoughts or comments by anyone? Okay, with that being said, I will call for a vote. All in favor? That is all 7 of us, none opposed. So 14B passes to award 14 projects to Pogue Construction. Okay, any other thoughts this evening?
Before you
Yes,
close
sir.
out the meeting, Dr. Ferguson, I'd also like to
Yes, sir.
request that you bring a plan before the board for auditing of other past and current projects as part of the ongoing effort to ensure transparency with the public.
Yes, sir.
If you can do that, we'll make an action item out of that for this next month.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Makes
Yeah,
sense.
Okay, that is everything that we have this evening. So now at 11:04 p.m., that closes out this meeting. Merry Christmas and good night.